Hey everyone, it's Ivan, keepatcher.com, out here for another gear review, and today, talking blades. These right here, which is both a production as well as a custom wicked from Atienza Blades. So, what are they? Well, they are knives designed from the ground up as weapons, not to be confused with a tool that can be used as a weapon. So with that, some pretty cool stuff kind of built into them, designed into them, and yeah, go over that stuff now. Right here is the production wicked. Guess go over the sheath first. Pretty cool features in here. Running down, sandwiched in between the kydex, is actually this foam material, which serves as a spacer and keeps your knife from being dulled, whether you're drawing it out or resheathing. Also, something cool about this sheath in particular, custom sheath, is that basically hinges. So depending on how you want this to ride in your belt line, you can have it angled up, depending on how you want to draw it out, or you can basically turn this thing and drop it down almost parallel with your belt line, again, depending on how you want to carry it. Drawing this guy out, the steel on this production is AEBL, really durable, really good corrosion resistance. Awesome distal taper right there, and scales on here are made out of G10 with some texturing along there, and also with it, just handle design, go over more in a minute. You have kind of a punyo there, but yeah, overall pretty rad. 3-inch blade on this guy. Right here is one of my very favorite blades. This is the custom wicked. Again, custom sheath on here with that material in between, that like foam material. Not going to dull your blade drawing it or resheathing. This one, the clip is fixed, but basically with the size of the clip, gives you some options as far as how you want to cant it in there. And draw this guy out. The blade steel on this custom is S35VN. And some pretty cool stuff here too, to include this jumping up top, basically perfectly in line with where your thumb's going to rest, and again, super nice distal taper and handle material. You can actually get them with G10, or in this case the ABS, which is also textured. G10 can be like more durable with respect to longevity, but you can definitely get some more texture with the ABS, depending on how you have it done. This thing is rad. And again, their sheath, going back in there. Such a cool knife. As I mentioned earlier, weapon, not a tool. What do I mean by that? Well, there's a bunch of things going into this with respect to design, to include this punyo of sorts, whether it's on this one or on the custom. Basically, help your thumb grab it and draw it out. And when you look at blade designs, there's a lot of things going on, to include handle designs. And conversely, we have this right here, absolutely a tool. One of, hands down, the best knives you can ever buy for the money. 15 bucks. Amazing. Mora Companion, this one being stainless. And yeah, rubberized handle. This kind of helps as a punyo. It is definitely not made for my hand, as you can see by that space. Conversely, this one absolutely is, it being custom. More on that in a second. But then you even just look at, one, how the blade is designed, what it's for. So here we have a nice big flat part, and then we get some belly up there. Can do a bunch of things with it. Also, looking at that spine, not made for thrusting into things. The other thing is, when you hold this like that, our blade's going straight up. So when I hold this, blade is not going straight up. And what that basically allows, again, definitely a tool, can be used as a weapon, but this 100% a weapon. And so with handle design, the way this is made, kind of per Atienza Kali, which is the fighting style, Atienza Custom Blades, this can be out here, and you're pretty much always tip on when you're holding this, pairing whatever it's going to be, and yeah, driving this thing in, pretty much always tip on. Does that matter? Not if you're opening Amazon boxes. Again, definitely a weapon, and there's a whole art that goes with this. So stepping outside of that, how practical is it? If you're opening Amazon boxes, probably not super practical. If you do actually put time in with blade work, as far as like actual martial arts, then yeah, gets a lot more practical. As I had mentioned with this sheath and the way this moves, you can basically adjust how this thing rides in your belt line. Of course, back here in the backcountry, not wearing a belt. These pants actually don't even have belt loops. These are by Beyond. They're basically made super lightweight for backpacking. Fortunately, with the way these clips are, they'll grab pretty much whatever cloth, so keep the sheath in place, which as a consequence, sometimes I'll just run these things wearing like board shorts, whatever it may be. Sheath stays put. Pretty handy. Are these blades for everyone? Probably not. As I mentioned, weapon, not a tool. This is not something I want to go to camp chores with. Just the way you're holding it, not conducive for that. And yeah, not made for that. With that, there are so many elements made that if you actually practice at all in any of the bladed arts, you will appreciate a bunch of things like straight out the gate with them. To include the sheaths, allowing you to actually carry them, where honestly most knives sheaths are a complete afterthought. And if you don't have a good way to carry it, then you won't, so oh well with that knife. And speaking of these knives also, didn't bring them up here in the mountains, but they make trainers. So obviously a trainer for the production, and then if you end up with a custom blade, it's going to be a custom trainer too, because it is not a production blade. Speaking of that, how did I end up with this custom blade? Or I guess in part, what makes this thing custom? I guess we'll start there. Largely handle, like literally made for my hand. Well, what determines that? Well, I actually had an amazing opportunity to go back east and go to Call the Mountain, an annual festival for Atienza Blades. Really incredible, 3 days of basically training, all kinds of stuff going on there. And there was talking with Carl Atienza, and of course, ended up shaking his hand. That is the measurement. There's other ways you can go about doing it if you can't go meet him and shake his hand, but that is how he does that. And through that, he's like, okay, cool. Which is mind-blowing to me. Other people kind of in that art are like, oh yeah, that's how we measure hands. And I'm like, I don't know how it works, but it absolutely works. And this one, as a consequence, is fitted to my hand. To include the jimping up here, like exactly where my thumb rests. Again, tip on, way you end up holding this. One of my very favorite knives. As far as price-wise on this stuff, production, I think you're looking at, $325, and for custom, I think it starts at like $375, depending on some different features, things along those lines. But definitely not for everyone, but if it is something you're interested, there'll be links down below and you can check it out. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbatch.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.